It's 34 Vibe Nation. All gas, no brakes.
Good vibes, guys. Guess who's back? Alright. There's a lot to talk about. It's been a long time. Too long, honestly. And I should have made a video before now. I've been really busy. And honestly, I didn't even think about basketball in general for a while. And then by the time the NBA season rolled back around, I was just completely out of it. But I'm back. And here's a video about the Charlotte Hornets. So I hope you enjoy. If you're new to the Vibe Nation, subscribe. I just basically talk about basketball on this channel. And yeah, let's get into it. So when I left off, I finished with a 30-minute long video of me reacting live to the Hornets losing by basically 30 in the play-in tournament to the Pacers. That's a long time ago. I'm past that now. And then after that, my latest video, which was a little bit after that, was the Lakers versus Suns in the first round of the playoffs, and it basically said why the Lakers weren't going to make it to the finals, and they didn't actually. They lost in the first round to the Suns, so I got that right. And it's basically just a video of Devin Booker just holding the offense, saying he's got this, and he just breezed past everybody, every big man on the team. Anyways, that's a different story. So let's refresh. So, after where I left off, the Milwaukee Bucks ended up beating the Phoenix Suns in the championship. Turns out the Suns ended up going all the way to the NBA Finals, and they ended up losing, but it was a great finals, and Giannis really erupted. And thanks to Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, they finally won a championship. And in a previous video, a preseason video, I believe, I'd been making fun of the Milwaukee Bucks, saying that I didn't think that they were really contenders, maybe pretenders, but they always went on these championship runs, and they never really got anywhere, right? But they got somewhere. Good for them. And it was a great finals, I'll be honest. Giannis dropped like 50 and 13 or something in his last game in the finals, game 6. And what a series, man. It was a good series for sure. And yeah, then after that, things got crazy, man. I had predicted that the Hornets would lose Malik Monk and Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo, and I was hopeful that they'd re-sign Devontae Graham and Miles Bridges. But I said if they were going after a big man, they might have to lose Devontae, which I didn't want. They re-signed Miles Bridges. Or wait, no, they didn't. Oh, my bad. Turns out, no, Miles Bridges, they were going to negotiate a contract. He turned down a 4-year, $60 million contract, I believe, but he's still a player until next offseason when he becomes a restricted free agent. And then we lost Malik. That I knew was going to happen. And then they re-signed Devontae Graham. But then all these rumors started going around of maybe a Lauri Markkanen trade to the Hornets, and I was like, no, I do not want him on my team. No, no, no. And he didn't actually ever come to the team. And we re-signed Devontae Graham, and everything was good. But then we ended up trading Devontae Graham, sign a trade. And yeah, sucks. It really does suck, actually. But we lost Devontae Graham. But somewhere along the way from there, we ended up getting an extra pick in the draft. And so the draft came around. And I remember in a previous video, I talked about how I didn't think we were going to jump up twice, 2 years in a row. And I was right, but that's okay. We stayed at our pick. I believe it was 12, something like that. And lucky for us, James Bouknight fell. And so the Hornets took James Bouknight, which I had actually wanted them to take, because basically James Bouknight was in the draft was like Tyrese Halliburton in the previous draft, falling. Just like, you got to take him. I personally wanted Davion Mitchell from Baylor, because my family were Baylor fans, but it didn't work out. He ended up going to Sacramento, and so far, so good. But yeah, when Devontae left, it really hit me hard. I basically was like, I'm never going to watch Hornets basketball again, and it didn't take until I watched a certain game this season where I was like, okay, you know what? I'll cheer for this team. Why not? But it's never been the same. And I miss Devontae a lot, but he's in New Orleans, and I wish nothing but the best for him. So along the way, goes to the draft. My brother keeps talking about that, some big man named Kai Jones, and we ended up not getting anybody in free agency, or perhaps free agency was after this, but we ended up getting Kai Jones, 19, I believe, after James Boop 9. And then we get another pick. We trade and get JT Thor, a big man, kind of like Thon Maker, reminds me a lot of Thon Maker. And then we ended up getting Scotty Lewis in the 50s in the second round. So, solid. And then free agency rolls around. And we re-signed Terry Rozier. Hornets re-signed Terry Rozier. They ended up losing Malik Monk, Devontae, Bismack Biyombo, who actually still does not have a job, which is really sad because I kind of predicted that too. Grant Riller went to Philadelphia. Cody Zeller, hey, I said that he wasn't going to get it, or I said that he was probably fighting hard to get a job. Worked out. He's in Portland, and he's the backup center. Good for him. And then Caleb Martin actually left too, and he went to the Miami Heat. So, that's interesting. So after all that, we ended up getting Mason Plumley too. I believe it was part of the JT Thor trade, which was a steal of a trade. I believe it was like we got Mason Plumley and like a higher pick for like just a lower pick. It didn't make a lot of sense. And I was like, you know what? I looked up at Mason Plumlee's stats. Solid stats. We could rebound. Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo struggled with rebounding. I'll take it. And then we signed Kelly Oubre Jr., which made it all better. It's just a bunch of dunkers, a bunch of cool stuff here and there. And then we also got Ish Smith to play the backup point guard role. And I was kind of iffy about Ish Smith, but once the season came around, he really started showing up. And so he's a solid player. And so before I continue, I just realized, just from basketball, because before I made this video, I actually looked back at some of my videos and looked at my predictions before last season. And I had said the Hawks were overrated. So in the playoffs last year, turns out they ended up going up against the Knicks in the first round. I thought the Knicks were going to win. The Knicks did not win. The Hawks won. And then the Hawks went on a crazy run. And they beat Philadelphia and made Ben Simmons look like an idiot. And now Ben Simmons is trying to get out of Philadelphia. Yeah, I have that jersey on my wall. It's nice, isn't it? And Joel Embiid's currently a little hurt, and he's playing through it. Lovely. The Nets ended up going up against the Bucks in the second round. Crazy series. James Harden was hurt, so it was Kyrie and KD. But then Kyrie got hurt, and then James Harden came back, but he wasn't 100%. So KD was basically carrying the Nets. They go to Game 7. KD hits a shot that would have won the series, but his foot is like centimeters over the line, so it goes to overtime. He misses a shot that would have tied or won the game in overtime, and so the Bucks end up surviving. And actually, because of that, the Bucks end up going against the Hawks in the second round. These crazy Hawks, and Trae Young is looking like Reggie Miller or something. And the Bucks end up beating the Hawks, and then they go to the finals against Phoenix, who just destroyed through everybody. But before we get to the finals, the Clippers, who I've been making fun of for a long time, it got worse briefly for them because Kawhi Leonard tore his ACL. And Clippers fans were like, "Dad, got it, that curse." But then we saw something very interesting. The Clippers ended up beating the one-seeded Utah Jazz. Yeah. By surmounting a 25-point halftime lead by the Utah Jazz in Game 6 of the semifinals. Yeah. And it was Reggie Jackson, who was the most exciting player, one of the most exciting players of the entire postseason, because he was so hyped and he didn't stay cool and collected. He was like, "Let's freaking go! I'm going off, yeah!" And he had the goggles, and I was loving it. And then Terrence Mann scored 39 points. And I heard the announcer say, "What a man," after he was hitting shots. And I saw that game live, and I was freaking out. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I was just amazed. One of the craziest games I've ever seen. Utah Jazz, awful, terrible choke, and incredibly embarrassing. And the Clippers, led by Paul George, Reggie Jackson, and Terrence Mann, and the help of Nicholas Batum, actually, they made it to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in their team history. And they ended up losing. like they should have. I mean, you look at that team on paper and you see Phoenix. Phoenix should have won. After they lost Kawhi, I mean, Phoenix should have won. And so they did win. But it wasn't a sweep either. And so good for the Clippers. You know, and looking right now, they don't have Kawhi Leonard, and they're not looking too good as a team. But they've got some hope, and Paul George gets to prove to everybody that he is an MVP caliber player again, having a whole team by himself with the Kawhi that comes back. And the best thing of all is that I compared Paul George for a while to Tracy McGrady, and I still see it like that. But Paul George, when Kawhi went out, he showed up. I don't really remember Tracy McGrady doing anything like that. So, good for Paul George. And I hope a lot of luck for him. Honestly, now that Kawhi's out, I might see myself watching more Clippers games. Honestly, I want to see Paul George go off. I want to see Reggie Jackson get the crowd hyped. Come on, man. That's fun basketball right there. So then we get to the finals. Bucks win. Off season. And so now we're back. Right. Big off season moves. Russell Westbrook goes to the Lakers. Carmelo Anthony goes to the Lakers. Malik Monk goes to the Lakers. Kendrick Nunn goes to the Lakers. We're basically talking about the Lakers at this point. The Lakers basically get rid of their entire team. They ship Kuzma and Harrell and Schroeder and Caldwell Pope all to Washington, right? And, yeah, funny, isn't it? Jeez. Dinwiddie ends up going to Washington, so he becomes our point guard. But yeah, they all go to Washington. They trade for Russell Westbrook. Russ is in LA. And now the Lakers have like the oldest team in like history, basically. Yeah. And so, and they get Dwight Howard back. And Rondo. And Avery Bradley. So basically they took the team, the Showtime Lakers from 2019-2020 who won the finals, and brought it back. Except like 2 years older. And more people. And Wayne Ellington and Trevor Ariza, who also was a former Laker, and Wayne Ellington. But either way, fun, basically. They're not gelling yet, but you got to give them a chance. And then the Nets, you know, they end up figuring stuff out, and all these COVID restrictions forced Kyrie Irving to basically be like, I'm not getting vaccinated, and now he's not playing. So it's basically Harden and Kevin Durant. And then the rule changed. There was a rule change in the offseason about fouls. No more of these stupid, wacky, careless, ticky-tack fouls. It was like running into somebody going, like Trae Young and James Harden do, and guess what? It works. And it makes basketball good. And teams aren't shooting as many free throws, which is great. And some of them are, but it's because people are driving. And there's actual defense. Like, people are playing defense. And the refs are letting these players play defense. And it's great for the game because the game needs defense. Bad. I love it. I love it, love it, love it so much. And it's actually basically destroyed James Harden's entire, like, game. Until the other night when he, like, got 19 free throw attempts, which I don't know what the refs were doing in that game. I didn't even see that game. He was averaging 14 points. Shooting like 36% from the field. And he had gone to the free throw line like 6 times in like 4 or 5 games. Crazy. Yeah. And Trae Young, on the other hand, he's just kind of evolved his game a little bit. And so he's doing fine. Decent. Not averaging 30 or anything, but doing fine. Kimmel Walker, he ended up getting traded from Boston to the... I just realized Schroeder didn't go to Washington. Schroeder went to Boston. So yeah, Schroeder ended up replacing Kimmel Walker. He's the one who declined the bag and ended up, nobody wanted him in free agency. He signed like a 1-year, $4 million deal. Crazy. And big steal for the Lakers, man. Oh, where would the Lakers be right now if he had picked up that bag? But yeah, Kemba went to OKC. OKC traded him to New York. And now Kemba's playing in New York alongside Derrick Rose, which is amazing. And they have Evan Fournier, Mitchell Robinson's back, and they actually have Dwayne Bacon. Forgot about that. Cool. So anyways, Knicks are cool. Knicks are fun. They're actually on top of the East right now, I believe, with Chicago, which is another cool story. They got Vucevic from last year, but then they also signed DeRozan. They get Alex Caruso, and they're just looking fun, man. I can't even lie. And they got Lonzo. So... Bulls are looking fun. They're on top of the East with the, ironically, the Wizards of all teams. Turns out Kyle Kuzma's a bucket. Maybe it was just LeBron. theories? I don't know. So that's basically where everything is right now. The Warriors, Clay hasn't come back yet. But the Warriors are doing pretty solid. Cade Cunningham went to the Pistons. Jalen Green went to the Rockets. Evan Mobley to the Cavaliers. Cade made his debut yesterday. I've always said that Cade Cunningham was sort of overrated, and he played overrated. Like 1 for 8. 2 points in your debut, man? But hey, LaMelo scored 0 in his debut, so you never know. Jalen Green's doing pretty solid. I'd say the Rockets aren't very good, but they're fun. And the Miami Heat got Kyle Lowry in the offseason. And they're looking really good. And they're really fun to watch. And Jimmy Butler, I'll be honest, I'm a Jimmy Butler fan. I got something up on my wall of him, a poster. And watching him play basketball is great because I love his defense and how he doesn't shoot a lot of threes. He actually scored like 36 points without attempting a 3 the other night. I don't know if he ever ended up attempting a 3. I might look into that. But that was the offseason basically. And if I'm forgetting anything, it's my bad. No, but unless you want to talk about Andre Drummond going to the Sixers. Yeah, funny, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not laughing. Timberwolves are fun right now, and D'Lo, Ant-Man, Cat, and it's fun watching them too. But if one of them gets hurt, they're screwed. And Pelicans, Zion's out, and the Pelicans are 1-6 right now, I think, because of that. Poor Zion, get him some help. JJ Redick retired in the offseason. LaMarcus Aldridge came back from retirement. Now he's on the Nets. And they got Patty Mills. So maybe the Nets can make some noise. I don't know. They got to figure a lot of stuff out. We'll see if Kyrie Irving gets traded. If he's getting traded, it's to Philadelphia. I'm saying it right now. They'll switch Ben Simmons and Kyrie. They both got their own issues. At this point, I don't even care. Because at this point, Kyrie will probably do more help than a non-existent Ben Simmons on the court. So... But on the bright side, while Ben Simmons has been out, Tyrese Maxey has been showing up. And Tyler Hero is like the front runner for 6th man of the year. Yeah. So... Hornets world. Hornets are doing pretty good. LaMelo started the first few games going off, like 30 points in his first game of the season. And LaMelo sort of like, he fell off. And he's just slumping a little bit. Milo Bridges has had 3 or 4 30-point games out of like 6 games, which is absurd. He's like averaging like 25 points per game. He was Eastern Conference Player of the Week. It was Steph Curry and Milo Bridges. Crazy. And they were 3-0. Yeah, they were 3-0 for the first time in their franchise history, which is cool. And then they lost to Miami, but that was their second loss. And they also lost to another team. What was it? What team did they lose to? Boston. They lost to Boston in overtime, but it went to overtime. So. And Boston has their own struggles over there, but they did get Al Horford back, so we'll see, man. We'll see what they're up to this year. So the Hornets are looking solid. Kelly Oubre looks like a solid pickup. The game that I watched that made me start getting into Hornets games again was against Brooklyn, the Nets, right? And we just always find a way to beat Brooklyn. I don't know how. And I mean, honestly, last year we lost like 3 of 4 to them. But the one game was significant. Harry dunking over Kevin Durant. We beat their fully healthy team. Or maybe when I still lost 3 or 4, I was thinking of the season prior. That team sucked. That Hornets team sucked. But, we beat the Nets. All thanks to literally Ish Smith going off. And Cody Martin playing defense and dunking everywhere. They didn't even have to put LaMelo Ball in the fourth quarter because Ish Smith was going off. And the Hornets won by like 15 or something because of them. Pretty solid. Pretty cool. Mason Plumley, not bad. He's pretty chill. PJ Washington's been the backup center, and he's been playing awful this season. PJ's probably gone. He's reminding me of Kyle Kuzma all season long. I don't really care for him. I'm really happy to watch Miles Bridges play, though. I'm so glad that he's getting there. He's now my favorite player on the Hornets. And the young guys, Book Knight hasn't really played much unless it's garbage time, which is crazy to me. Kai Jones, same with Kai Jones. JT Dore hasn't even stepped on the court, I don't think. And, Terry Rozier's been injured. He's only played like 1 game and scored like 6 points. But he'll be back. Hayward hasn't been bad. He's been pretty decent, honestly. He has to stay healthy. And other than that, things are going well. The buzz is back, apparently. People are really excited to watch the Hornets. The Hornets are one of the top teams in the East right now. We'll see if they can keep up. But I don't know, man. we'll see what's going on. I honestly wish they could have gotten a big man because they did end up with Holmes or Whiteside, which I wanted. Holmes re-signed, Whiteside went to Utah. But, we'll see. All I know is this season is going to be a really fun season, and I'm excited to see what goes on. So, anyways, that's the recap. That's where we're at right now. And yeah, so leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll try to make more videos. You know, this is cool. I really like stuff like this, and I miss talking. So, peace out, guys, and take care.